Okay.
So let me give you the share screen.
Okay, I'm gonna do that as soon as I introduce you, okay?
Oh, no problem. Okay. So let me give you the share screen. Uh-oh.
I'm gonna do that as soon as I. Hello, everyone. We're going to start welcoming you to Gov School today. My name is Mark, and one of the founders of Gov Directions, and we are certainly glad you are joining us. We'll get started here in just a minute. As everybody's coming into the room, I just wanted to welcome you here to Gov School. This is a service of Gov Directions. Just as a reminder, it does help to maintain your mute status. Unless you have a question, you can just click over that microphone. That'll turn that off. If you do have a question, you can unmute yourself and raise your hand or just interrupt us and we'll call on you. I'm also going to allow you to ask questions in our chat box. And I'm going to start that here. If you're not sure where, it will pop up on your screen. And you can ask us any questions as we go along, and I'll refer back to it. Or you can tell us a little about your company, okay, and what you're doing and why you're here, and we'll try to engage you in our process here of talking with you. This is a series that we do to help make you a little smarter about how to do business with government. Our primary objective is to help you learn to win government contracts. You can check out our schedule online. We have an RFP writing class, our capabilities, which we're doing today. We have with us Dr. Cynthia Harper. She's going to introduce herself in just a minute, but if you've been around, if you've heard her before, she's one of my favorite speakers, and she's just when you hear her just a few minutes, you'll understand what I'm talking about. She'll just get you involved. And we also have Thursday, but just a general introduction to an RFP. This is before the RFP writing class. This is one where maybe you've never even seen a document in government and you want to learn a little bit more about it. We pull out a live one and kind of walk through it, and you can ask me all those dumb questions, as you might want to say. But we'll make sure you're fully knowledgeable before you approach your government. And then next Wednesday we'll be talking about local lessons. How does local government work? How decisions actually made? You've heard, and we've dealt with our local officials, but in this class here, we actually walk you through that decision-making process about how they would actually hire you as part of your company to provide a service or supply. And with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to release our shares here to Dr. Harper, and she is going to take over. Let me see here. Everything. There we go. And Cynthia, how are you doing today? You can maybe introduce yourself as you pull that up, and your mute is on. Okay.
Let me unmute. Hey guys, how's everybody doing on this day after the Love Day? Is everybody doing well?
Doing well today.
Good, good. Did everybody celebrate themselves? Let me pull up this share screen. Nobody had a celebration? Wow.
I did. I celebrated.
You did, Mark?
We got one thumbs up. Yeah. My wife
Okay,
and I had a nice
good.
dinner. We made some fresh fish. It was really good. Yeah.
I love me some fresh fish. So let me go into my computer here. Where's my screen? I celebrated myself well yesterday, but I celebrate anyway. So how many of you all excited about government contracts and all that it brings? It is certainly not a piece of cake. It is certainly something that requires your attention. One of the things I want to say to you before we get into the capability statement, when you look at this, I don't want you to look at you having to eat the whole pie because it's a lot to consume. What I like for you to do is to look at it as a situation, whereas there's teaming and possibilities of other people, but it's not if you win a government contract, it's actually when. And I always tell people, can you stand and stay long enough to receive the victory? Because that's what you have to do when it comes to government contracts. You've got to stay long enough to receive the victory. And one of the ways that you get the victory is that you create an award-winning capability statement. So let's get this capabilities screen set up here. Okay. Can you all see this? Is everything good or do we have the wrong slide up here?
We're not seeing the presentation yet. We're seeing your Google screen. So make sure you have that tapped in.
Okay, let's see, share. Here we go.
We are seeing your computer though.
Oh no. Let's see, what are we doing here this time? There's the screen. So we don't want to do that.
Now we're looking at you.
Oh, that's not, that's even worse. So here's my capability.
We've actually come a long way, folks, since we've found Zoom, with the pandemic, I think, like a lot of us, but we still have our learning challenges, and we've learned to kind of bear with it. Everybody understands that going into it. So you have that, Cynthia?
I have it. I'm looking at it. I guess I'm not clicking on the right screen because I'm looking at the capabilities presentation.
So click on share screen.
I did. It says share.
And then you pop over to the box and make sure it's highlighted.
How many times have we done this? This is ridiculous.
I know. And I have.
Do you have it? Do you have it in front of you, Mark?
I don't have it in front of me, but I can get it in just 1 second. If you want to email it to me, I can also pull it up for everyone.
Okay, let's do that right quick. While we're pulling it up, I just want to tell you guys, lately we've been doing quite a bit of these for Gov Directions, and it's been an amazing experience. And I had a client that we did one for recently through Gov Directions who called and said, thanks, they loved our capability statement. It was phenomenal. It really opened up the door for us. So I want you to know that we love doing this. It's always fun to hear when people have received the victory for that. Here we go here. Capability brief.
We're getting this set up now. 1 second. Individuals are still coming in the room. I'm still waiting on that, Cynthia. So
Okay, it should be there. I just sent it. This is the weirdest thing. Did you receive it, Mark?
I'm still doing that, but I'll tell you what, as I'm pulling up, I'm going to show one of those that you recently done. I had it up here. There we go. And you can tell them kind of highlight some of the things as part of it, but I'm pulling that up. Okay. I really like this one that you did for a nonprofit.
Yes. We recently did this capability statement for a group called Chosen Inc. They're a company out of Mississippi, really doing some great things in the community. So, and though in the government market, for the most part, nonprofits are not with what the government is looking for in terms of bids. This goes more to the grant community. However, she wants to partner with large companies who need a nonprofit arm. So we created this capability statement for her. As you can notice, her codes are very prevalent. Her DUNS number is in the center. You can see her cage code. Her contact information is solid. She has a really genuine logo to the left. Her executive summary is well established there. As she's showing one of the community projects that she's done in the very center. She's listed her NAICS codes, which are your North American Industry Classification Standard codes. She's got her codes there, her core competencies, what she actually do, and then what makes her different. And it's very important that we know what makes us different as a community in this government market, because there are a lot of people who are doing exactly what we do. So here we are, folks. We want to talk about winning and award-winning, having award-winning capability statement. So basically, what is your capability statement? Well, you know, oftentimes we want to make our capability statement a little more exaggerated than it needs to be. And one of the things that we specialize in the government market is narrowing it down, but yet have the right professional information needed to sell yourself. It is your marketing portfolio. It is your business resume. And so it's a concise one-page document that basically has all your business competencies and the services that you offer. It is what separates you. It's your specification that makes you who you are. So that is what a capability statement. Let me tell you what it's not. It's not a fancy 3-ply brochure. It's not a bunch of unnecessary information. And understand this, in the government market, oftentimes contracting officers, program managers, SBA directors, and all of those people who look at your capability statement, they're time conscious. So what we do with your capability statement, you see all the fancy, pretty stuff? These are beautiful brochures, but they're not capability statements. They don't have time to read that. They actually need a one-page document with the codes they're looking for that will solidify the services that you offer. So it's not anything like this. It's not a beautiful document, which these are beautiful. And so why do we need a capability statement? Well, first of all, and Mark can speak to this, it speaks to the KOs that you understand the language. I call it the common business vocabulary for that environment. It needs to make sure that it has a language that they understand. The verbiage, things like procurement, make sure that you understand contracting language and lingo that makes you relevant and important. If you had a resume, you would list all the things that you do in your resume in a certain order. What are the things that in the resume that make you stand out? Well, this is what you're doing in your capability statement. So you need this. You need this, Mark, what? For industry days. You need it for contracting officers. You need it to acquire partnerships. You need it to just sell your story. You need it actually downloadable on your, not Facebook, on your social media, on your website, so that if they'd like to look at it, pull it down, share it with someone who's already won a contract. You need access. They need access to your capability statement. Mark, talk about other places they would use their CAPE statement.
Sure. I would just comment too that you're using a word cloud here, and I always like to. That's a tool that I think we underuse in business, because your word cloud that basically taking all the words that appear in your documents that you're presenting, should speak your company. I mean, it should, whatever that keyword is that you are reflected by, that should be the number one language, and that's what Cynthia is telling us here, making sure you've got the right language in use to sell your company and to present it, because you're really are matching with government. You're trying to make sure you match up with what they're seeking. And so that's when you really use these. And as Cynthia said, placing it strategically, whenever someone's doing a request for information or sources sought, and we talk about the different tools or the instruments that governments use, but this is when they want you to tell them about yourself. They want to learn about your company. They're proactively asking you to market to them. And so you want to make sure when you do that, that you're not wasting their time first, that you're giving them the language that matches the skill sets that they're looking for. Because if you don't, somebody else will.
Yep.
and having that there for them. So that's why it's always helpful. And, I saw the documents, the samples of what it's not. And the last thing you want to do also is when you go in to actually make a pitch. Cynthia and I are judges in the past, so pitch contest. But when you go in to make a pitch, you don't want them fumbling around with your capability statement. You don't want them looking to try to find what you really are trying to tell them. That should be that one page laid out in front of them, and it should really speak to who you are. And oftentimes I'll use that as almost like a placemat whenever I go in and give a presentation. My presentation, I want them focused on me, but whenever they need reinforcement, when they're looking down, I want them to see that word that encapsulates what I'm doing and sells to them. How about that, Cynthia?
Yep. That's good. That's good. And so a capability statement is so much different than a capability briefing. And though you'll need a brief as well, we're talking about the capability statement. So the benefits of it. Well, the benefits of it is they understand that you understand their language. The benefits of a capability statement is it's narrowed, and I think Mark kind of touched on this already, but it narrows down the search. It puts you in a pool that others who don't have one, they won't get past the front door. I promise you that. Having a capability statement speaks to you understanding what the needs are of that said agency. So you're not, and oftentimes people try to sell to every single agency. You need to understand who buys what you need. And that's why your capability statement is centered around the information that that agency or those agencies who you are courting is what they're looking for. And so the benefits of it is absolutely, it's imperative that you have one. Bad or no capability statement, it's not a door opener for us people. We need to be able to have something that's going to open the door. Why is that important? Well, you need something that's going to be able to speak to the KO, speak to the SBA officers when they're referring you to other other 8A companies or women-owned companies or veteran-owned companies or other entities that offer what you do. Oftentimes people need partners. So a bad or no capability statement, it doesn't allow you to present yourself as such. It is a door closer for you. You cannot walk into the government market without having a decent capability statement. It shuts the door, right, Mark?
It really does. And, one thing I like about this slide that you do is it shows the different colors and, really appealing, making sure that you brand your company the correct way and that you're using, whenever they look at you and look at your website, look at your details, that it flows together. So they recognize, hey, this is GovDirections. I know them. I've got history with them. I've saw that capability statement before. I saw a pitch that they did, or I saw something, and it helps them tie that. So use of color, use of the same sort of fonts and so forth. Pay attention to those, and always make any kind of link or email or any kind of a video. Make it all interactive, so that someone can click on to tell your story, and you can take that one page and you make it endless with that. You can really drive that to infinity, to use a big word, but you moving them into your space in depth, and keeping them in your space is always better.
And another thing about a bad or no capability statement, if you have too many colors, it doesn't represent your logo, your brand. Right. So you're branding yourself with the color scheme in which because what happens with KOs and project managers and SBA officers, they talk. And so your resume could be passed throughout the different agencies without you even knowing it, without you being the one who share it. So keep that in mind as well. So there's different versions of it. Oftentimes the government will ask you for an RFI, which is what? A request for information. Sometimes with that, you can just use your one-page capability statement with an RFI. They'll ask you a request for proposal. They'll ask you to write out a full proposal to enter the bid in which they're seeking. While you will present your capability statement for that as well, but with the RFP, you will answer it in detail, but your capability statement is still something that you send along with all the details for the RFP. There's sources sought when you don't have to bid. When they have seen your work already, they have access to your capability statement. A source of sought is at what, $4 million, right, Mark? That's the threshold. And they're looking for someone to do just what you do with the right certifications. It's almost like they're giving you a contract. And so that's why it's important that you're represented on the table, because trust me, there are probably, for every bid that goes out, there's probably 300 to 400. If they're looking for someone that they have not worked with, there's probably 300 or 400 people just like you.
Yeah, and you also see the request for information or RFIs whenever there's an emergency, and making sure that you tell them in your capability statement that you're registered in the disaster registry is an important part. Almost all of us should be. If you're not, go through SAM, update your SAM registration just by clicking off that you can provide services in an emergency. And it's oftentimes they just pick up the phone and call you, but you're able to go nowadays to a typical upload screen. Right after I saw this with COVID, I also saw this in Kentucky with the storms after a hurricane, and the governor will set up a message page and you just load it right up there. And that speaks to it. And so if I'm just putting a basic document that I just prepared overnight, or I just put, some basic information versus someone else who's got an established capability statement, who do you think the government's going to call? So be aware of that going into it. This is not going to be a formal RF request for proposal, formal invitation to bid. This is where they need somebody fast, quick, and those are always the most profitable, have the most margin, and you're actually doing the most good.
Yep. And as we go to the next slide, remember this, especially small businesses, don't always think that you need to go after the big bids. A great capability statement might just be a $30,000 or $50,000 bid that you might win, that opens up the door for the $500,000 or the $250,000 one. I love it that small businesses can go in and win a contract, a 6-month contract or a 6-week contract for $20,000 or $30,000. That shows that you're willing to do the work. And so there's several kind of capability statement versions. There's the targeted one, there's the general one, and we talked earlier about the sources sought capability statement. Keep in mind that you're not a jack of all trades. That's why we have a differentiator portion on your capability statement. What makes you different? What's going to target you? Are you minority owned? Are you veteran certified? Are you woman certified? And understand, Dylan, your capability statement, you can use it for the federal, you can use it for the city, you can use it even for corporate, but you need one. And one of the things that I wanted to tell you even about the different versions, major corporations now, they all have a capability statement. They are the biggest bidders in the country. So you might be partnering with a Coke or a Delta or an IBM to do a contract for health and human services. More than likely, they would give it to them first, so that you as a partner, if it's targeted to the agency that you're trying to serve, you, their partner, the minority partner, which is a great place to be. That's the way you win. You already have what they're looking for. It's targeted. And if it's general, that's good. And if it's just a sources sought capability statement, that's even better.
And speaking of corporations, one class I do is about indicators of success. And that is really targeting or pinpointing the contracts that you really have a shot at. And so if you know that, you're not really wasting your time. But on occasion, you always use Atlanta as an example. We're located here in Atlanta, but Atlanta is a very large city. It is not a place that I traditionally would pursue a contract in my line of work. I also do consulting work. But occasionally I might want to go in as a subcontractor or let somebody else do the main work, and I'm there just to potentially tag along. And so when I'll go to a meeting, used to you go in person, and you just step up and introduce yourself and ready to go. And then you pass around your capability statement. You say, I'm not here for the actual bid. I'm here to be a subcontractor. And you'd be shocked at how many people, specifically if you have like a local business designation or minority designation of some sort, woman-owned business, that they're seeking those out. And nowadays, ever since we've moved online, I do that in this period here. I'm shameless. There's my capability statement right there in the chat. If you want to do business with me, reach out to me. I'm ready. So that's the presentation. That's how you team. Okay.
Yeah.
And in fact, most of us, the first contract we get, if you haven't got a contract yet, it's going to be as a subcontractor with a larger vendor, and then you branch out.
And that's why having a great capability statement is so important. So let's talk about your codes on your capability statement. Do Do you understand your NAICS codes and your PSC codes and your SIC code and your NIGP codes? Do you understand what your codes are and how relevant they are for the success for you to win? If you're at an industry day, and I'll say industry day, say in Alabama, a lot of industry days take place in DC and Virginia and Alabama, Texas, anywhere where there's a lot of government work. Trust me, the right NAICS code will be remembered by the right stakeholder. Most industry days are large groups are coming together and they're sharing all the projects that they have available. If you have the right codes on your capability statement, Coca-Cola or the Department of Health and Human Resources or HUD, you don't know, you might exactly be that person. And this is why we get together with you and we try to make sure that you list your certifications, your 8A, your VOSB, your SDVOSB, and even if you don't have them, we always suggest to start working on something that will make you make the pool smaller for you to become a big fish in a smaller pool, because this is a big pool, actually. So having the proper codes are so important, knowing everything that you do, and then not being a jack of all trades. I remember seeing a capability statement and they went from grave digging, and this is no lie, they went from grave digging to IT support, way too much, spectrum way too large. And so, I mean, actually, Mark, can you speak to that about identifying yourself by your codes?
They can't say that enough. And sometimes you might want to have multiple capability statements, just so
Yes.
you know that going. If you think you've got that much talent that you could be a grave digger and a IT consultant, then you've got enough talent to have two capability statements. Okay, so just know that going into it, but be focused. The other good thing, the reason why you want to be clear on your NAICS code specifically, and that's the North American Industry Classification System. That's because all set-asides are assigned to a NAICS code. And so you have to have that. Not only do you have to have the set-aside designation, well, most of us will be a total small business, but you also have to have that NAICS code designated on your SAM registration. So it's important that you're clear on that going into it. And you don't have to limit yourself. Think broad. Okay, but on the same capability statement, make sure there's some rhyme and reason. So only the IT related ones are on your IT, and then that you've got the part-time grave digging job, you know, that's separate. So put that in. You're going to be more profitable. I don't know. Maybe it's profitable grave digging. I don't know. What do you think, Cynthia?
Well, I don't know. Dig enough graves. The government buys the service, so it must be good.
Governments buy everything.
They buy everything, guys. Everything from weave to boats. They buy it all. They need it all.
Oh, I need to get forward. There you go.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the 6 C's of the capability statement. You know, it's just important that you understand your NAICS codes, the ones that we just had up there. You understand your core competencies. What is it that you do? What is the core of your business? You know, if you think about your body, the core is the center. What is the core of your business, and how well are you with that? What is the company data? You know, what's your company data? And actually that speaks to your executive summary. Who are you? You know, how many years you've been around? Are you solid? Are you a warehouse environment? And the warehouse houses XYZ associates so that you can show that in the government market, you can fulfill what they need. What is your corporate expertise and differentiators? You know, basically that speaks to what makes you an expert. And people say, well, I've never done work with the government. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Who have you done work with? Have you done work business to corp? Have you, B to C, C to B? How have you done work? That makes you an expert at what you do. You know, who are your clients? That speaks to your past performances. And of course, the right contact information is very important on your capability statement. ABCs is
I put a little note in there too. ABC.
Yeah, I saw that.
As detail, remember that? Accuracy, brevity, clarity, technical writing. That's number 101 technical writing. So whenever you go through your own and you're reviewing it, make sure it's accurate. Make sure it's brief and make sure it's clear.
Because sometimes we have to send them back and say, I have to say, you're all over the place. Let's narrow down this so that we can sell this to someone, a contracting officer or whomever, so that they will understand what you're trying to say. And make sure that your capability statement, the things on your LinkedIn, because these are all professional social media outlets for you. Make sure that all these things kind of match up. You're not saying one thing here and another thing somewhere else. Make sure your core competencies, you understand all the services and the products that you offer. And I like to make sure that it's bulleted so that they can just read through it and not have to, they can glance at it and then go back and look it up later. I like the short sentences. I don't like the long, outdrawn things. They don't have time. Your capability statement is one of about 300 or 400 sometimes. Make sure that you understand your key offerings so that they know that you are industry specific. And it's really important that you relate your offerings to meet the needs of the agency. I can't say that enough. That's why I often tell people, please don't try to do everything. Go into the government market, niche focus. Mark, what do you think about that?
I just continue to echo because, and once again, on this point here, don't ramble. That's what you're basically saying. That's where being brief is important. Go through and redo everything at least twice. Okay, go in, make sure your words aren't repeated unnecessarily. Governments look, they are looking for a reason to hire you. A lot of times they're looking for a reason not to hire you and to put you in that other pile, especially when they got 100 capability statements stacked up against yours. So don't give them a reason not to hire you. Okay, so keep that in mind going in there. Be brief, be clear, and always, of course, be accurate. And I would speak to that services or products. Living in today's age and using Zoom and using anybody can video with your phone even. Product displays, so forth, make things interactive. Okay, just drop in your hypertext, and if you got a website, you should have a website. That individual who's looking at that PDF, they can click on that and make sure, for goodness sake, that it's secure using HTTPS, SSL. Okay, and then when they click on that, they see your product. You just basically gave yourself an opening that most people will always bypass, or give them a sample of a product, of a report that you've done if you're a consultant. Don't make them just search for you.
Yeah.
Okay, have that ready.
Have it ready. And did you see what the young lady just put? Did you see what Lori, she said someone told her that niche is rich and broad is broke. I love it.
That is correct. I agree with that.
I love it. That was awesome. I'm going to use that. Thanks for that hint.
I'm going to steal that too. I'm going to use that.
Steal that, Lori. That was phenomenal. And so your company data, you know who you are, the brief history of your company, how many years you've been around, the size of the firm, the revenue. You can list the number of employees. Sometimes people particularly like in trucking services and business, a lot of people, it's a family-owned business. They've done it for generations, but they've never gone into the government market. So they have cornered the market in the community that they're in. Now they're ready to branch out. It's good to say that, this is a legacy business. It's been around for 40 years. My great-grandfather started. Now my nephew or my sons or whomever are running it. That's real important that you understand the business, what it is, the office, the warehouse, the locations. Those things make you stand out. If you're teaming, if you're partnering, if you're joint venturing, all those things, they understand that you understand how to do business. What makes you different? Your personal mission and your vision, your personal strategy for growth and development, your personal goals and objectives. What is it about you that make you a SME? Who will know anything about you? What industry certifications that separate you from the norm? What is the special knowledge and abilities that you offer that Harper doesn't offer? What is it about you that you're good at? And even if someone else offered it, yeah, but we do this and we do it well. It's really important that we note the things that make you different on your capability statement. And only you would know that. Your clients and customers, your past performance is so important. Even if you've only done business with the company across the street or a mom and pop operation, at least you offered exemplary services somewhere. You can capitalize on that in the government market. It's imperative that you understand you don't have to have done business with the White House or FEMA or none of those agencies. That's not relative. What's relative is you've actually have clients. And even sometimes if you don't have clients and you've worked this, you've managed this in corporate America, that is a step toward your success. Don't deny yourself because you've never done it on a large scale. That's not relative. What matters is you have the abilities to pull this off, and you do. Anyone, Mark, who is, and I'd like for you to speak to this, who is ready to tackle the government market, not that it's impossible, but it is different. I think that you're bold enough to be able to offer services to the Department of Health and Human Resources or to whatever agency that you're seeking after.
You know, practice makes perfect. I guess that's could add to that. So when you come in, it could be difficult, but you gotta learn what they're looking for. Make sure that you start speaking the language. And the other thing to remember when you're working with government officials is they typically are looking for the same things. They're going to the same school, they're going to the same training, and all of you come from different, different perspectives of life. You're entrepreneurs, you have your own business models and things of that nature. So you have to step back and maybe observe government just a little bit, learn a little bit more about government, because that's going to be your client, just like you would any other client that you're going to be dealing with.
Right.
And so don't lose that focus.
Don't lose the focus. And then your contact information. One of the things I cannot express this enough. Make sure that the phone numbers are correct. If you've moved locations, take the old address off. Make sure that you have a professional email address, not sexymama@gmail.com. Make sure that you have, and seriously, some people think that that's cute, but it's not. Make sure that the numbers are there, the correct, if you're still using a fax machine, make sure that the right fax numbers are. Some people still transact business with fax machines. Make sure that you have an email, and it's always better on a capability statement that you purchase an email that represents your company. For an example, Cynthia, my email address is cyn@charperenterprises.com. Many people use Gmail and Yahoo, but for professionals, we really do need to use an address that represents our company.
It's really worth the investment. I do think Gmail is becoming acceptable as an alternative because of all the spam filters and so forth. But having that address and then putting a Gmail as an alternative is important. And you use that the sexymama@gmail.com. Don't do that kind of thing, because one of the things that I always tell our clients is that when you're working with government, remember the first person that you're trying to impress or when you're trying to get past is really that procurement officer. Okay. And what they're making sure of is that you're not going to embarrass them. That's the thing, it's critical that you have all the other things, but the number one thing is they don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to recommend you or you get past their door. And then all of a sudden you can't perform, you can't do something. So they look for those items that can identify that. And one of those is being unprofessional, not having the right contact information, not giving them signs that you're not established. Okay. You don't want to do that. Okay.
You don't want to do that. And so folks, we just want you to have a good capability statement, because we know that the government is looking for people like you every day. You're not too new, you're not too young, you're not naive. It is, but it's something that I want to say this is the last thing I want to say. Please be in it to win it. It is not an overnight success. Very rare that you come in the door and you walk out with a $5 million contract. Can it happen? Absolutely, yes, but it doesn't happen often.
We thank you for joining us today. It is open. If you have a question, you could let us know. We don't hang around, or you could call, and Cynthia's going to put her info in a chat box here. Maybe you have that.
I did.
Or
I put it in there
you
earlier.
call us, at 800-492-8523. And I'll be glad to refer you over to Cynthia, and we can help you with that. If you need that kind of technical assistance, we'd be glad to do that for you. Okay.
Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon.
This recording is available at YouTube Live right after. You can go to our YouTube channel at Gov Directions. There should be a link in your box for that that was sent out today, and you can watch that over if you'd like. No questions? Everybody have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia.